position myself. Okay, so I can see it from both sides. You have situations where employees and workers don't know what bosses actually have to deal with. They don't know the phone calls, the emails that they have to send to keep the people below them, sometimes employed out of hot water themselves. You got bosses that actually sit there and take the heat for people, but those are not the bosses and this type of stuff that we're talking about. You have some bosses that will get in this position and they want a power trip over everybody. Bosses out there, y'all got to realize that the people that's below y'all are people too, and a lot of them are very well capable of sometimes even doing the exact same job. You have bosses that say, well, I went to college for this, or I did this, or I did that. But yeah, I've been in situations where there will be people that will be hired because they have more experience dealing with something than those who went and tried to get a degree for it. And I'm not knocking degrees at all, because a degree can be very important. Matter of fact, if there was a doctor out there that didn't have a degree in what he did, I probably wouldn't want him working on me, because I want him to have the experience and the knowledge as well.
Experience is very important. Just to go for simply Dorales on the platform that I'm on, we are having technical difficulties. The app did show, so it's going to be in increments of 15 minutes. We're going to do another 15 minutes after this. Right now we have 13, so we will pause to go live again. Sorry for this. The app is saying it's experiencing technical difficulties, just to let you know. So if it cuts off, it is not intentional. We will finish this. It will be a 45-minute segment. It's just going to be broken up into 3 segments on Spreaker. Okay, so one thing that I want to say is shout out to Brandon, ATL. You always here. We love it. He said the most horrible bosses are in the military.
Interesting.
Why do you say that? He said because most of the time they ego tripping. Okay, I can see why that will make a horrible boss. You cannot let your ego get in the way of business, because you're creating a hostile work environment, and no one works well in a hostile work environment. I don't care if you were trained for it. Eventually, it's going to start eating away at your mental. Brandon said, "What's up, preach?"
What's good? What's good?
Just for y'all don't know, Brandon has been with us from the beginning. We love him. He always chimes in, and I appreciate your continuous support. Again, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. It is an app error, but we're going to keep this conversation rolling. Okay, so good question. I don't know how to pronounce your name, so I'm going to say your last name, which is Norris. How does anxiety make a horrible boss? Well, if you have high anxiety and you get real anxious and you're thinking about like, oh, well, I can't do it. It's too much. You're acting off of your emotions. You're not acting logically, and more likely you're not making decisions with your logical mind, but off of impulses.
Yeah, really, that horrible boss actually is the one that would actually can cause you anxiety. When it's all said and done, the worst thing that can happen with you on a job is what? You can lose your job, okay? And you have that horrible boss that's above you, and it's like they're horrible with their morals, they're horrible with their empathy, they're horrible with these different characteristics, and it's like if you don't do right, they have the position and authority to cause you problems on your job, whether it be suspension, whether it be cutting your hours, losing money, this, that, and the other. Those are the things that we have to watch out for. And it's like, how do we conduct ourselves when we have to deal with those type of people?
Yes, I completely agree. Poor leadership skill. Poor leadership skill comes from inexperience. But you can also have those that are very experienced in the field but still have poor leadership skills. And the reason being, just because they have experience in the field don't mean that they should be put in a leadership position. Some people, and I know a lot of people are not going to like when I say this, they're not born to be leaders. They have to be taught. And some people cannot be taught to be leaders. If you cannot put your personal feelings aside to conduct your business, that leads to poor leadership skills. It can make you a horrible boss. Now, I'm going to go off the movie, Horrible Bosses. Where they planned to kill their bosses, and you had one boss that was sexually harassing. You had one boss who was just a major fucking dickhead and who was arrogant and expected someone to do all the work, and they climbed over everyone and took all the credit, but they weren't the ones doing the work. They weren't the ones putting in everything that you see where the company was successful. They were climbing on the back of their employees and taking all the credit. When it came down to it, they didn't know how to run the business. They made cuts on bonuses that employees rely on because it benefited them. Okay? Now, I feel like that I'm a good leader, but there may be stuff I may fall short of. A good leader can be humble. A good leader can take criticism and grow from it. Shout out to Tiana Crow. Thank you for joining. We're talking about horrible bosses. My podcast is simply Dorales. Check me out. Look it up on Google. You'll see all the platforms that I'm on. Now, a quick question that someone asked. They asked to give an example of a horrible boss that affected your work ethic. And they're asking this question to KC. So I'm going to hand the mic to KC.
Horrible boss that affected my work ethic. Long story short, I had a boss at one point in time. And really, I don't like to call nobody boss because I don't consider nobody to be my boss. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to switch to supervisor. I'm not worried about that. There was a supervisor at one point in time that basically thought that the shop was pretty much his. He felt like the shop is his, everything in the shop is his, pretty much. Right? So you have this situation where I'm coming to work every day. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to. I do a lot of things that the boss or supervisor or manager, whatever you want to call him, wouldn't see. He calls me to stop doing those things. And then everything started changing. The aura in the shop started kind of changing when he was realizing certain things wasn't getting done. And I was doing things that wasn't always necessarily in my job description just because that's who I am. And I know that I'm going to have a lot of people up under me at some point in time because I got businesses that's coming up and all of that stuff like that. And when it's all said and done, I want to make sure that I don't treat anybody the way I was treated. But long story short, you have situations where you have these bosses, right, or these supervisors. They're getting positions. You know, a lot of supervisors that have big mouths and everything like that, they're really good at getting the attention on them. And when you get the attention on you and everything like that, then you cause people to start to know who you are. And once you get people to knowing who you are, then they're like, okay, this person's over here, this person is doing this person is doing that. Next thing you know, they will develop a relationship with higher ups or this, that, and other people that could put them in positions outside the job, which is not a bad thing, depending on how you decide that you're going to use it. If you are humble in your ways, then when it's all said and done, your overall demeanor on how you move and how people treat you and how your employees work is going to be reflected from that. You don't put yourself in a position where you can get in a position and then everybody that's up under you that helped get you there, you throw them up under the bus or do them dirty or say that they're not doing this, they're not doing that, just for your own personal gain, just because you're not managing yourself well. And I've had that situation happen, and like I said, it gets really gruesome in how they do it. I've had supervisors that would forge time, pay this person overtime that they not working. You know, they have the position where they can cut hours. I've had racial situations where I took my child to a doctor's appointment, did everything that I was supposed to do, and I come back from the doctor's appointment and he just mad, so he's like, "You're fired." And at that point in time, I had just helped him because I was the only one that had a certification in that shop. But as soon as somebody else was able to achieve that same certification, he's like, "Okay, now I don't need you no more." You know what I'm saying? Because you have those types of situations.
Yeah, and like I've seen it a lot of times where people has used fear. The bosses have used fear. Well, if you don't do this, I've had this done to me. If you don't work these hours, you're going to lose your job. And they know you need that job. And you come in and you tell them about the hours that you can work. Right. And they try to manipulate you into what they want to do because it fits their agenda. And you have to be really, really stern with those type of people because at the end of the day, yes, you work for them, but without you and the other employees, their company ain't shit. Employees are crucial to every business. And a lot of the times you don't have the right HR. You might not have HR. Or people that are in HR that don't know what to do. That don't really know how to handle HR. I had a situation where I was getting sexually harassed at work and I had to wind up going to the administrator for them to do something. And I had the HR person come to me after they talked to the administrator like, "Oh, well, I thought it was just bothering you a little bit. I didn't know you were in fear for your life over this harassment. It don't matter if I said it made me itch. I'm uncomfortable. And sexual harassment is not something that should be tolerated in any work environment. You should be able to go to work and be comfortable and not worry about this person looking at you a certain way or saying a certain thing or trying to touch you in an inappropriate manner. And men and women can be sexually harassed. Now, again, we're asking you guys to share your experience for horrible bosses. So do not get shy and share with us.
And let me tell y'all something else. We have this political correctness. Let's say you get on a new job. You know what I'm saying? You got these questionnaires where they say, if this person was stealing or if this was to happen, what would you do? How would you handle this situation? How would you handle that situation? Well, I've been in a situation where don't get me wrong, I've been on my job probably about going on 13 years now. Okay. Long story short, when I first got on the job, we went through a whole new hire training, all of the stuff like that. This is the process for this. This is the process for that. Even if it's your superior, this is how you're supposed to deal with it. This is how that's supposed to be dealt with. Well, we got all the way to the point at one point in time, and I had a couple buddies that was working with me. They decided to leave the job because they wasn't there as long as I was. And, I'm too invested. I'm not going nowhere. They're gonna have to kick me out. And when they do, I got the certifications to do something else, CDL, all of that. Fine. But when it's all said and done, we went through those processes. Matter of fact, we even had stuff on camera of people that they're putting in supervisor positions that's stealing, all of this. It was swept completely under the rug. So I'm saying that to say y'all have to watch out because when it's all said and done, you have to protect you no matter what. And sometimes that literally may be, I'm not going to get involved in that. I'm not going to deal with that. I'm going to come hit my 8 and hit the gate. You know what I'm saying? Go get your money, and sometimes you might not have to worry about what somebody else is doing. But when it's all said and done, it's sad that they will promote those type of people. Matter of fact, they put somebody not in a supervisor position. Matter of fact, we have different levels, different tiers. You got supervisor 1, 2, 3. And long story short, above all of that is a manager. They put somebody in a management position that had an ongoing case for child molestation. Ooh. And they ended up taking him to jail right off the job after he goes to court. And now this man got life in prison. How does that even happen? That just doesn't make no sense.
Okay, we're gonna pause. We're gonna go live again on Minds. But you go on